Ladies and gentlemen, today on the program, I am delighted to welcome the great Jacquie Neville back to the show. Now, Jacquie is, as you know, one of my very favorite performers, one of my very favorite songwriters, and her debut solo record, If You Get Lonely, has at long last been released. The record is fabulous. We are going to go deep on some of the songs and about Jacquie's creative process and being honest and vulnerable and having the courage to do what you want to do as an artist. It is a wonderful conversation. But before we get to it, I am going to put just a little trigger warning on the episode. All right, Jacquie lost a pregnancy a couple of years ago, and that is an awful thing. She talks about it in the context of a wider and very profound story and about the song that the experience inspired, okay? I think she did something very beautiful with a couple of really, really terrible circumstances. But if the topic hits a bit too close for you right now, or it's just not something you want to hear about, I will tell you that we talk about it from about minute 48 to maybe 54. If you prefer, you can skip that section, but please do enjoy the rest of our chat, okay? Jacquie's record really is freaking terrific, man. And she'll tell us all about it on the other side. Hello, you're listening to the John Huff Podcast. Oh, yay. You're so put together all the time. Like, oh yeah, like you're my audience cannot see you, sadly. I have not progressed to video yet, but it's like hair's on point, got the green sweater on, I see guitars hanging on the wall, and to be fair, you are a professional interior designer, so of course the room looks awesome.
Well, thank you. You know, I'm not sure if you've seen those hilarious Instagram videos where it's like Instagram versus reality, and you see like one corner of the room that's like so well put together, and then the rest of it's like a hot mess. Yeah. Yeah. The rest of my house is a hot mess because, you know, I live with 4 boys. So
True that.
Right. But thank you for the nice compliment. This is my little sanctuary of cleanliness. So it's a nice little retreat for me.
What is the picture on the wall behind you? It's like a California
this is
scene.
Palm Springs.
Uh-huh.
I really like California. And so anytime I'm like in work mode and I'm really stressed, this is my like reminder of like, it's cool. It's just work. It doesn't really matter. So yeah, it just reminds me to chill out.
I spent a Christmas in Palm Springs one year, and that's an interesting place.
I feel like I've never spent Christmas time in California, but I think I would have a really hard time having Christmas without snow.
Really?
Yeah, I'm one of those people. I love winter when it's like for Christmas. As soon as the new year happens, I'm like, we're done. We don't need snow anymore. I want spring, summer, or fall after that. So
you live in the right place then, right?
Yes. I get to experience all 4 seasons in Ottawa, which is my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm similar in that I'm way more sentimental than I let on. And I actually really like Christmas, and I like the Christmas season.
Yeah.
But you're right though. And New Year's Day is my favorite day of the year.
Why is that?
For me, I just really enjoy this notion of a clean start, fresh start.
Yeah, I love that.
And there's something very reverent about New Year's Day for me.
Yeah.
It's like a spiritual there's a vibe about that day for me that maybe other people don't feel, but
maybe there's a core memory in there for you, a core memory that happened maybe when you're younger, and it kind of triggers something special for you. And I think that's awesome.
That's cool, because most of my core memories trigger awful things for me. So Let's latch on to that New Year's Day thing,
Yeah, I think, see, I always feel that around September, like back to school, there's something about like the crisp freshness in the air. I'm not you. I don't know exactly what you're feeling, but I feel that like rejuvenation, like new beginning kind of vibe in September for some reason, when all the leaves die. Yeah, I think New Year's is a nice time though. There's something about it. You're right, where you're like, let's do this year right.
Yeah, and you never do, but
You
it
never
feels
do.
like for a day,
The
it feels
intention's
like.
there.
Did you like school? Like September for me, September's really the first day of the year. I think we're conditioned from childhood to make September is actually the first day of the year. I did not enjoy school, generally speaking. Did you?
I really liked going to school. I struggled in school growing up, but I loved going to school because I had some really good teachers growing up. I always had at least one teacher that was my like, beacon of hope, my little shining star that was always kind of cheering me on or encouraged my creative side. And I was very lucky to have at least one teacher throughout all of my years. That looked out for me. So I enjoyed going to school. And then when I got to high school, I went to Canterbury High School, which is an arts high school in Ottawa. And that's where I really feel like I found my place, where I started to fit in a little bit more. And I was doing exactly what I wanted to do, which was music every day. So it was the best.
Were you a precocious child, Jacquie Neville?
Oh, yeah.
I can imagine. I mean, if you're a really creative person and you have this kind of energy in you, school is a lousy place to be, I think, because it forces you to sit, especially when I was a kid. Now I'm older than you, but sitting in a row of desks, be quiet, stop fidgeting. It's like it just sort of suppresses all of that out of a person. So I can imagine for you, maybe it was a problem.
Oh, it definitely was a problem. My mom actually was reminding me last night when we were chatting about how my kindergarten teacher was complaining to my parents during their parent-teacher interview about how Jacquie doesn't know how to follow the rules. She, we told her to color the grass green, but she wanted to color it purple.
Oh,
I just don't. And my mom's like, but she's a creative and it's art class. Like that's like the one time where you shouldn't be following the rules, But it was the old school French immersion kind of teachers that wanted you to sit in your desk, like you said, and shut up and be quiet, right? So that was my energy. I was always trying to break the rules in some capacity, and I drove a lot of teachers crazy.
So much of it makes sense now. I love it. I love that they did not stifle that out of you. And you went to an arts high school where that was actually encouraged, which is fabulous.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for that. So, and I had really good friends growing up too, right? Which always helps. But school didn't come naturally to me. I'm not like a natural academic who can, be talked at for an hour and somehow absorb all of it. That was tough for me.
It's really psychotic. The way they set up school back in the day was, I don't know if they still do.
It's still not great. I'm going through that with my kids now, and I don't agree with like a lot of the approaches, but it is what it is, and you can only do so much at home and try to continue encouraging them to be authentic and not let the system break you.
Oh yeah, the revolutionary. I love it. I love it. You have a baby. Congratulations.
I have a baby. Yeah, thanks.
Since last we talked.
Is chaos.
And yet, the room you're presenting on Zoom is so ordered. I love it.
Like I said, this is my sanctuary. This is the room that needs to stay clean at all times because I can't think properly if I'm in a messy space. It's just how my brain works.
I'm that way too. I think clutter is existential. I think stuff has weight, and I think it really certainly affects me if I'm in a space that is not ordered in some way.
I think that's like an ADHD thing, which I definitely have. So
do you really have it? Like diagnosed?
I'm definitely undiagnosed, but putting all the pieces together, especially since my youngest son, not the newest one, but my middle son now, he was diagnosed with ADHD, and I'm talking to the psychologist. I'm like, yeah, I hit all those check boxes too. She's like, you probably have undiagnosed adult ADHD or ADD in some form. So there's a spectrum, right?
Oh, of course. I'm aware of two people, one of whom is a good friend of mine, who in their 40s discovered that they're on the spectrum, that they have autism.
That's wild to discover when you're an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change anything, but it suddenly makes certain things make sense that didn't before, you know?
Like, why didn't I fit in all those years? Or why did I struggle to,
right.
Make connections with people in certain ways? Oh, definitely. I had a friend who was recently diagnosed as well. And it's like.
right? Poof, light bulbs.
Yeah,
oh, wow. Yeah. It's really compelling stuff. And so now I wonder about my own undiagnosed issues.
But they're not issues. ADHD is a superpower. That's what I'm telling myself.
Autism can be too.
And same with autism. To me, yes, there are challenges that come with those things when you're not neurotypical. I'm using air quotations here because who is neurotypical? I feel like we're all on some spectrum in some way. And that's what makes us all unique and special. But I feel like I would rather teach my kids that their shortcomings, again, using air quotes, is a superpower. And if managed properly and given the right tools to help you focus and to help you learn, great, but use the gifts that you've been given. And yeah, I think amazing things can come from that. Like some of my most favorite people have ADHD or are on the spectrum and are insanely intelligent and creative and successful people. So,
right. I think it attunes you to different things in different ways.
Yeah. You're on a different wavelength.
And and what you can produce with that wavelength or what it allows you to focus on, or, you know what I mean? Like, I think it really can be a superpower. You're right about that.
Yeah.
And terrific. And by the way, you also have a brand new freaking album, which is really what we're here to talk about.
Yeah. Here I'm talking about neurotypical behavior and I'm not pushing my album.
That's on me. That's on me. But it's interesting because it probably in some way informs your creative output. And the fact that you've grown up this way, it seems as though you almost had to fight your creativity in the early days until you maybe got to high school. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. And coming from a family that was very academically driven, like my whole dad's extended family, they're all engineers and lawyers and very cerebral type people. And I think that's wonderful, but I was just never that person. And I really struggled to kind of fit in. I felt stupid all the time growing up because I'm like, I just can't relate to these people. And like, how come I don't know what that is? And I always just felt kind of lost at the dinner table because my brother is such an intellectual and my sister is as well. And I'm like, I had to kind of rewire things in my brain and go, well, creativity is a form of intellect and it's just different, just because I can't retain an entire science book after reading it doesn't make me dumb. It just means my brain doesn't work the same way, right? I'm not necessarily meant to be a scientist or an engineer. It's like that. Yeah.
Maybe you're just not interested.
Yeah, maybe I just don't care.
Right?
Yeah. So for me, creativity has always been something that I've battled with only because, again, when you're growing up amongst people who are not like you, it's really tough. And when you're sitting in school and your teacher's telling you that the grass has to be green and you want to color it purple, that's tough. But as I got older, once I got to high school, finding teachers, finding your people, if you will, who are encouraging you to push those boundaries, who are telling you that, yeah, let the purple be, the grass be purple. Why not? Right? That's when I really felt like myself and started to be a little bit more unapologetic about it. And since I've turned 30, I feel like I hit like a new milestone of that self-awareness and that unapologetic kind of attitude. And now I'm 35. So I just feel like as you get older, it just gets so much sweeter.
Oh, it does. And
yeah, and that's what this album's about for me anyway. Just kind of relaying it back to the album is I started writing this album about 7 years ago, 7 years ago, as I was transitioning out of my 20s. And I found 28, 29 were like two of the hardest years for me. And then as soon as I hit 30, I thought that was going to be the scary year. And I was like, oh no, these are the good years. And it's going to get better from here on out, I think. So
interesting.
Yeah. You're older than me, so maybe you feel otherwise.
I'm not quite sure what to say about that. I think because the reality is, here's what I tell people. Sit back, kids. Your granddad's going to tell you what it's all about. I don't think mentally you age past age 32. What I mean by that is I don't think of myself as being any older than 32.
Yeah.
That's just and I'm so much older than 32. But in my head, I feel like I injured my shoulder badly earlier this summer playing soccer and doing something stupid, not realizing my body can't do that anymore. You know what I mean? So in my head, I'm still young and relatively spry. And so I don't know what to say, except as you get older, what I'm beginning to recognize is that stuff doesn't matter. People don't care. You can do whatever you want for the most part. Mm-hmm. And what you get hung up on as things have to be a certain way or be done a certain way, which I still get hung up on that in music and even in podcasting. Yeah. None of it matters, man. So It feels like, because I know in the past, you as a songwriter have been dealing with labels and you've had to write quote unquote hits. And so it's like labels have been telling you to paint the grass green too.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And then when you're wanting to make it in this industry, which is incredibly difficult to do, and, bigger labels and management and A&R reps are telling you that you need to sound like Paramore or you need to sound like whoever else, it's really hard because then you start to have a bit of an identity crisis. And I think I went through that for a good chunk of my 20s. People always telling me I need to be more like so-and-so, or I need to do X, Y, and Z to gain success. Or, it was just, it became so all consuming that I feel like, I wouldn't say I had a nervous breakdown, but I definitely went through a period of serious trauma, like PTSD type symptoms were happening like physiologically to me. And I didn't understand why. And I realized it was because I was completely neglecting so many aspects of who I was and what naturally came to me. And I was almost fighting it. And so that was really scary. Like I lost my voice at one point. I think I talked to you about that last time we chatted. And it was because I was putting so much stress on both my body and also psychologically. It was like constant warfare going on with the pressure of the industry, I guess. So to me now that I've shifted into this new phase in my life, but also in my careers, there's so much more confidence I feel that comes with being through that whole chapter, right? Like I learned a lot about myself in my 20s. I made the mistakes, and I got through it, and I'm able to look back on it and not live with regret in it, but go, you know what, those were lessons that I needed to learn to get to where I am now. And I'm so grateful for it because I will never let that happen to me again. And I'm not willing to compromise at all anymore on anything. So, it's just for me now, music has always been the number one, but it needs to be me first.
Right.
Yeah.
And you, with writing and producing this record, complete freedom, right?
Yeah. It's so liberating. And I love that I was able to do it with Liam. It feels like home making music with him, and it just wouldn't have been right doing it with anyone else. Cause I feel like he's been through this whole metamorphosis with me. He's been through this whole journey with me from the beginning. He's known me since I was 18. Right. So we've gone through so much together, and there was something strangely cathartic finishing this album with him last year. In the fall, we finished it. And we both just like broke down and started crying after.
Really?
Yeah. And he was just like, whoa, like hearing just the progression in your songwriting and how you're approaching recording now. He's like, it's just so awesome to feel that energy. Cause even my vocal takes, I was like, nope, I'm only doing one takes. I'm not doing vocal comps. So everything on the album is just me in one go. Because I really wanted it to be as raw and truly me in that moment as possible. And so we both agreed that we weren't going to do comps. And even if there was like a slightly out of tune note, I'm like, leave it, because I would try to redo it and it was never the same. It never had the same energy. So for me, it was all about the intention and the energy, and that was it.
It comes through.
Thanks. I hope so.
Oh, it really does. Like the record is very recently released, so I've been through it several times, partly in preparation for this, but partly because it's just great. You know,
Thanks, man.
It's a really good record, and it's, for me as a fan of your work, it's just a delight that there's more of it. You know, and I'm not trying to butter you up. I'm genuinely a fan. So it's like, wow, this is great. There's a new Jacquie record, and it is raw, but it sounds fabulous.
Thank you.
Like sonically, the way it's produced sounds really, really great. Like it's just a well done, written, recorded, presented record. And it's exciting for me that it's so important for somebody like you who has that in you to continue to do it, even though the landscape has changed or your life has changed.
Yeah.
I'm really excited that you've not abandoned the gifts that you have, which are substantial.
Oh, man, you're gonna make me cry now. Thank you. That really means so much. It's well, I didn't even think I was gonna continue music after the Balconies broke up. Just because, again, my life was heading in a very different direction, and I guess I was a little bit bitter because I felt like music failed me in a way at one point. But between like my husband and Liam kind of being my ongoing cheerleaders, I was like, okay, I'll tinker around with stuff. So I like picked up the guitar again, started playing guitar again, and I started singing a little bit again. And then next thing I knew, I had like 10 songs that I had written, and stuff just kept pouring out of me. And so Liam and I had demoed about 30 some songs.
Wow.
I think it was about 30 tunes. And Liam's like, what are you doing? We've demoed like 30 tunes now. Where are you going with this? You need to release something. Like, this is crazy. You're obviously on some kind of like writing spree, and you're feeling really inspired, and that's amazing. But even if you're not going to do this in the same capacity that you used to, you still need to share it. And that's the part that like really freaked me out. I was like, I don't know. I kind of love the idea of just like keeping it for my own. Mm-hmm. But then as we started producing the album a bit more and developing it, I'm like, you know what, maybe I am ready. And then sure enough, I was. So just took some time. That's all.
Well, you are now a public figure again. It's like coming out of hiding. Is that weird for you?
A little bit, only because I've been so immersed in, other life stuff. And I love being a mom, and I love being a wife, and I love what I'm doing now as like a money career. But yeah, it feels exciting because it feels fresh and new, because it's on my own terms and I feel in full control of it. So to answer your question, yes, it does feel good because it feels more genuine this way.
That's good, because I was going to ask you, since you've also undergone a name change professionally. So I wondered, is Jacquie Neville an avatar, or was Jacquie Neville an avatar before? Yeah. Or are you just Jacquie and that's it?
I'm just Jacquie. I'm always Jacquie. But I really wanted to keep those worlds very separate. Sure. It was really important to me to kind of compartmentalize the two career versions of me. Because I didn't want someone Googling my name and going, wait, what?
Sure.
Who's this woman sticking her tongue out and whipping her hair back and forth? I want her to design my home. I really want to keep those worlds very separate, because to me, that's the only way they can exist.
Sure. Makes sense. And that's a wise thing to do.
Thanks.
So you come right out of the gates with O on this record.
Yeah.
That song feels a bit like a statement to me.
Does it?
Tell me about that song.
My mom was very confused about what the song was about.
So am I.
Like, is it sexual? Is it? She says, it feels sexual. I'm like, well, Mom, the song can mean whatever you want it to mean. But yeah, the song is very sexy. And like I was talking about earlier, I feel like as a woman, when you hit your 30s, there comes this like huge wave of confidence, and you're just not willing to accept the bullshit anymore. And so to me, this is a liberation song of like, I know what I want and I'm going to get it. That's it.
My initial thought was, I had two initial thoughts. The first was that pre-chorus is just deadly. And the melody on that is dynamite. And my second thought was, geez, Jackie's going to have trouble placing this on Christian radio.
You know, I pitched it. They said it wasn't the right fit.
Yeah, I was worried about, because I know that's a big market for you, the inspirational music market.
Yeah, absolutely.
So as a publicist, I was a little dicey, but I was like, she should probably paint that grass a little greener, you know?
Oh, you kill me.
I get such a Fleetwood Mac vibe off some of this stuff.
Oh, amazing. That makes me so happy.
Does it really? Are you a Fleetwood Mac person?
Yeah, it does. I don't mind comparison stuff because to me, I listen to so much. Like people will say like, who are your inspirations? I'm like, I could literally list any genre, any artist from said genre. And if you pick up certain elements from my music, or I remind you of a certain artist, I'm like, that's awesome that comes through for you. Because someone will hear something completely different. And I love that. And so to me, I'm like the filter for all of the stuff that I'm getting for input, right? So
oh yeah,
it doesn't bother me at all. I think it's awesome as long as it doesn't sound like a complete, rip off of it. But if you're getting reminiscent kind of vibes from it, I think that's fantastic.
It's to do a bit with the harmonies in it and just the way the melody works. And
yeah.
That's in no way an accusation. I freaking love Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
When I heard that in that song, I heard it in Magic Man. I heard it even on the Rhonda record, and I'm like, oh yeah, like there's just you're not ripping off Fleetwood Mac, but if you're going to rip off somebody, that's the band to rip off. But you're not. I just got that vibe, and I love that flavor, and I remain fascinated by people like you who can write melodies. I really am. Like I'm really fascinated by that because where on earth does that come from?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. It's a pretty wild trip. Like some people, they're really good guitar players, and you're like, how do you come up with that riff? Like, I don't know. It just came to me one day.
I love it.
To me, it's a spiritual thing.
Yeah,
that's how I would describe it. It just. You're playing one day and you're trying to write and you're trying to write and you're trying to write and nothing comes to you. And then the mood strikes at some random moment when you're in the car or in the shower or doing, I don't know, you're cooking or cleaning and you're like, I have to go to the piano or I have to go to the guitar because something just came to me. How does that happen? I don't know.
Well, I think it's to do with that part of your brain being disengaged. Like your subconscious goes to work when you focus on some other task. Like,
yeah.
For many struggly years, I tried real hard to be a writer. And I remember reading an instructional book about writing by Brenda Euland. And she said, if you're struggling with a block of some sort, go wash your floor. Go scrub your floor.
Yeah.
Just engage your body in this repetitive motor kind of thing. And it unlocks this part of where the creative stuff happens. And there's something to that. So you're working at something, you're in the shower. Is your phone just full of little snippets? Yeah.
I think I'm at audio recording because I don't label them. I always forget to, but it's like audio recording 237 or something.
Yeah.
And I'm always maxed out of memory on my phone. So
mine is too. And I'm not even a songwriter. And mine's full of little ideas that I can't develop. But I listen to what you're producing and it's like, yeah, there's just either you have an extraordinary gift or you are a very aligned conduit for this stuff because the melodies that come out are really, really spectacular. And not everybody can do that. So I remain, and I'm a musician. I live in this world and I'm amazed by people. This is why I say, thank goodness you have not denied this gift because it is one. So,
oh, thanks.
Tell me about Los Angeles and St. Andrew's Place.
Yeah. So before I moved back to Ottawa, I was spending a lot of time in LA. I was doing a lot of demoing and writing with different songwriters at the time. And I was just trying to figure life out. Balconies were slowly kind of on the way out. And I didn't really know what I wanted to make for my next move. And so I was flirting with the idea of moving to LA for a while. I had a lot of friends who had relocated there. And I was staying with a friend who lived at Western Avenue and St. Andrew's Place. And I would be woken up in the middle of the night by gangs fighting on the street. And it wasn't a particularly rough neighborhood, but LA always just has random pockets and random moments of, I'm just going to say, chaos. It's a very unique city because you have that juxtaposition between like the extreme wealthy and then extreme poverty and drug usage and gangs. And there's also the people who are so hopeful moving to the city with those like rose-colored glasses on, going like, I'm going to make it. I'm going to be a star. And they're kind of doing anything possible to get to that tier, right? And to me, St. Andrew's Place is just my naivety kind of coming through and realizing like, wow, the naive Canadian has no clue that, I just felt like I was on a completely different planet the first few times that I had gone to visit. And I was like, what? Like, how come there's like a tent city under an overpass? That was very shocking to me. Like there was just like a lot of shocking moments, a lot of like almost a bit of a culture shock, to be honest, coming from Canada over there. Because again, you're having these extreme polarizing worlds of the rich and famous and the not so rich and famous.
LA is unique for the level of celebrity that exists there.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. So to me, it's just my little social commentary of, holy shit, my brain cannot compute what's happening right now. How can these two worlds exist in the same city? It was quite a trip. So yeah, St. Andrew's Place is kind of my cheeky way of making those harsh realities that you experience in LA a little bit more palatable. Because it is sad. It is sad when you see gangs fighting on the street and someone getting stabbed. It is sad when you see a woman struggling with some severe eating disorders. It is tragic, seeing mental health issues kind of running rampant in the streets and no one's willing to help. When you really think about it, it's so disheartening and upsetting. So this is my way of kind of poking fun at people's either obliviousness or just lack of caring.
Right.
And it's almost as if people turn a blind eye so that they can have that self-preservation almost, so that they can still keep working and aspiring towards the 2%.
Is that what the chorus means? It's so nice out tonight. It's just like, let's look elsewhere.
Put those rose-colored glasses on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's heavy social commentary, Jackie.
It is. It is.
There's a moment in that song which I love so much, and I bet you could guess what it is, but I'm going to say it anyhow, which is the end of the second verse where you just do your Jacquie Neville thing. That big screeching high note. Oh, it was so wonderful to hear that. And that song is evocative, and I can picture exactly what you're talking about. I've spent a little bit of time down there. Not like you have, but it's just, it's cool. I mean, that's a wonderful song and an evocative song, and it leads us to the temp.
Yeah.
The temp is so, well, I'm going to let you tell me about it, and then I'm going to tell you what I think. Tell me about the temp.
So the temp I wrote about 7 years ago. Again, feeling quite lost in life. I was working a lot of dead-end jobs at the time because I was going on tour a lot, and it was really hard for me to have steady income. And so I ended up getting a lot of temp jobs. And I was working at call centers. I was working in random offices doing administrative work just to try and make ends meet in between those little pockets when I wasn't on tour. And I always just felt like I was always 2 steps behind from everyone else that was around me, purely from like a financial and career perspective, because I was striving to break into this next, I guess, tier of my music career, and couldn't pay the rent, and just kind of always felt like behind. I'm never going to buy a house. I'm never going to, have more than $100 in my bank account. I'm never going to have, money to buy the things that I want to buy, and feel like a contributing member of society in a way.
It's so weird because at the time you're in a band that's like, you can go out on Friday night and be 100% rock star, people lining up for your autograph. And then Monday morning you're at some call center and you're like, what just happened? What just happened?
Yeah. It's like so polarizing, and it's really, it's like demeaning in a way, because you're like, I know what I'm worth. I know what I can contribute, and I know who I am, and I want to be these things, but how come I can't get there? So to me, that's what the temp is about, is always just feeling, like I said, 2 steps behind and not getting exactly what you need out of something.
Yeah. It's what's fun for me about that song. There's such a sinister vibe running through it.
Oh, yeah. But still always keeping it cheeky. Got to keep it cheeky.
Cheeky, but that's the other side of it. One of your idiosyncrasies is the wrong word, but one of the things you do as a songwriter is that you will drop in these little sinister sections. O has that. After the second chorus or whatever, it drops to this weird little breakdown, which has just got this sinister vibe to it. And balcony songs have done that, and it's a cool, interesting thing that you do. I don't even know if it's intentional. It just happens. In the temp, the verses are kind of rocking and sinister. And then the choruses are so sweet. And then I think to myself, well, is this her real thoughts are in the verses, and then her public presentation to the boss is the sweet chorus? Is that what's going on? She's got the finger up, kids.
You nailed it.
Ha!
You nailed it. That's exactly what it is. That's my no problem.
Right. I knew it.
That's my office hours voice, my phone voice.
So clever. Yeah.
Yes, let me get that for you.
Can I get you a coffee? I'm just the temp.
Yeah.
And then this just underneath, it's just this brooding person who's ready to kill somebody.
Oh yeah.
Like just trying to hold it in like the Hulk, Who is the magic man?
Oh, that's my husband.
Oh, really?
That's all him. Yeah. He's the magic man.
Is it bad for us to be going into details on this, or do you want things to remain a mystery?
I mean, we can leave some mystery, but I always leave some element of mystery. But I'm happy to talk about the songs. That's why we're here, and it's not every day that I get to chat about music now, so it's exciting for me.
There's a really wonderful simplicity in that song.
Yeah, I wanted to keep it simple because it's when you fall in love with someone, or when you have like a new relationship, or you meet someone that gives you those little butterflies, the feeling. Everyone's experienced that. And there's just something so pure and sweet about that feeling. And to me, keeping the song in its like purest, simplest state alludes to that. And so I'm like, we're not reinventing the wheel here on this one. Like, let's just keep it what it is.
Nor do you need to, though, because the melodies work so well. And there's Fleetwood Mac vibe on that one too. And I just right away, I grab onto that. And a simple song can be exactly right. And it is. But then there's a saxophone solo. Oh, how about, did you play the saxophone on that?
So not for that tune. My friend Tyrone played on that one. But I played saxophone in middle school and through high school and university, and loved the sax. And, you got to have a saxy moment. There's a lot of saxy moments in this album.
It is a sexy record. Very sexy.
Yeah, there's just, I kept hearing a saxophone at the end of the song. And I asked my friend Tyrone, he's like, I'm not really playing saxophone anymore. I'm like, you gotta do it.
Yes, you are.
Do it. I'm like, you're doing it for my album. And so he did. And I'm so happy he did because it's such a great moment. It was initially, I wrote it as a guitar solo, but the saxophone just to me is like,
oh yeah, it's perfect.
It's like adding whipping cream to a hot chocolate, you know? It just hits that perfect je ne sais quoi.
It really does. And that tune has just a hint of an 80s vibe to it. So pulling a sax into it really reinforces that. It's a great moment. I feel like that's a hit song. Or it's some movie placement, or it's something. There's all this potential exists in that. I love that one. And then you throw us for this loop where you run a bunch of piano ballads on us.
Well, first, after Magic Man, we get into Sensitive. And then we get into the piano ballads.
You're right.
Yeah.
Sensitive. What? This is 1950s. I had a friend of mine, listen to the record, and he's like, I'm getting Patsy Cline here. I'm getting Tammy Wynette here.
Yeah.
Sensitive.
Yeah.
Tell me about Sensitive. What a fun song that is.
Thanks. And this is what I mean by stylistically, like I'm so all over the place, but I love that because to me, I'm staying true to the character of the song and not necessarily trying to stay true to an image that I'm trying to put out. I feel like what makes me feel strongest as an artist is being able to be a chameleon and play with different characters within myself and within the songs. And I love that. Like I always loved playing like dress up as a kid and just being someone else for a minute and feeling like that person, almost like method acting, you know what I mean? So I'm almost like method writing in a way where I want to be someone else for that moment and pay homage to other artists and other genres that I've always loved and grew up listening to. So Sensitive, I wrote actually after a fight that my now husband and I had early on when we started dating. Oh yeah, and his mom gives him shit for this now. She's like, you idiot, smacks him upside the head. Because we got in an argument. I can't even remember what. It was one of those stupid arguments that you just end up having. And he's like, are you on your period? Or is it that time of the month? And I'm like, oh, you moron. And I'm like, oh no. Is it that time of month? Really? Okay, give me 1 second. I headed upstairs. And then within a couple days, I had that song. That song just came out of me. And there's actually another verse in that song that I didn't include in the recorded version, but I perform it live. And the line goes, now I'm scarfing Doritos alone on the couch. I'm nursing my heart so that it won't fall out. Now I'm falling asleep. The remote's on the floor. Wish I could get up and get the fuck out that door. And so, yeah, so that I didn't include because I'm, referring to Doritos and all that, and I'm not allowed to do that. So, but I perform it live.
So on the record, there's a copyright thing or something? You couldn't use the word Doritos?
I can't use it.
Really?
Yeah, I didn't know that. Because rappers use they refer to Adidas and Balenciaga, but maybe they have some kind of affiliate thing. I don't know. Anyway, I scratched that verse for the recording, but again, keeping it cheeky, I wanted to still keep a playful tone to it. And so to me, Sensitive, yes, it has that kind of messaging. And a lot of women come up to me after they hear that song live and they go, oh my God, that song really got me,
Oh, man, we're all in trouble. Men are in trouble.
Oh, yeah.
We're in big trouble.
That song spoke to me because it's true. I feel like as women, we're always told to keep sweet and say sorry and be pleasant and just keep a smile or just giggle awkwardly because someone made you feel uncomfortable, or in particular, a man made you feel uncomfortable. And again, it's that being unapologetic about your feelings. Because to me, vulnerability is the ultimate superpower because you're bearing yourself to someone. I think it's
right.
I think emotional awareness and intelligence is such a gift. And honoring your feelings is so important for your mental health. And yeah, don't say sorry for having feelings. I think it's ridiculous that we're taught that. And I'm sure for men too. I'm sure men are told like, don't cry, be a man.
Yeah, well, certainly there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
But I don't think men are taught to hold in their emotions to humor people. So as not to upset, maybe to hold in their emotions so as not to upset other men. So if there's a man who's upset, other men maybe are not equipped, at least in the past. I come from caveman days. I'm reaching that age. I don't know what new ones are like. I'm sure your boys will grow up to be very sensitive and not
we talk about
ever say that
a lot in this house.
Yeah. So I grew up in a generation when boys didn't have feelings.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah.
I'm that old, Jackie. I'm that old.
You don't look it.
What's because I discovered on Zoom the touch up my appearance slider. Have you seen that? It's amazing. It's wow.
So creepy.
I took 15 years off myself. How exciting.
Yeah.
I could do them all over again. And sensitive is written like 50s ballad style.
Yeah.
Cool. What came first, words or music on that one?
I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was the words. Well, actually, the first thing that came was the do 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 do, and so I kind of had that little melody in my head, and then I was playing that on guitar, singing along to it on guitar, and then the lyrics kind of poured out of me. So
nice.
There's always like the catalyst, and then everything just kind of happens simultaneously, I guess. But I'm pretty sure I had like a couple of lyric lines, and then that guitar part came.
What does the Magic Man think of the song Sensitive?
Oh, we laugh about it now. He loves it.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure
he loves it. Yeah.
That's a hell of a puddle to step in, though. I mean, don't say that.
I think he was trying to be funny, but again, when you're in a heat of like, a fight.
No, don't be funny when she's mad, dude.
No. We don't say that.
I mean, this past summer, I celebrated my 25th wedding anniversary.
Oh my gosh. Congratulations.
I've at least learned that one.
Yeah. I think you learned that one pretty early on.
You do. You do. If you're with the right person, you learn very quickly the line that you don't cross. And really, you should be smart enough not to cross it anyways. But dudes are stupid, man. Seriously, like.
Hey, you said it.
I'm not saying anything people don't know. Like, dudes have a lot at least dudes of, your husband's younger than me, but dudes of my generation probably had a lot to learn in terms of relating. I mean, my mom was a housewife.
Yeah.
For most of my life.
Yeah.
Like, we're the tail end of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like the world has changed and perceptions have changed.
And now you know why I kept that song as a 50s song.
That makes perfect sense. I never even thought of that. Mm-hmm. I'm not as clever as I thought I was. But that, of course, is a 50s song because that's the era.
Yeah.
I dig it. It's a cool song. And could it have gone on a Balconies record? Would they have let you away with that?
Hell no.
There you go. See, this is what's great about being you now. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah, it's the best.
And that includes writing a bunch of piano ballads I've made little notes beside each song. And for this whole run of songs, it's just haunting.
Yeah.
Haunting.
Those songs, well, in particular, River, for obvious reasons, is very hard for me to get through. I think I had to redo that song about 6 times until I was able to finally get through the whole song in one go.
Tell me more.
But I had a pregnancy loss 2 years ago. And I'm not sure if you know, but my brother was diagnosed with cancer 2 years ago.
I did know that, yes.
And this kind of happened all at once. So I lost the baby. And then a week later, I found out that Steve had leukemia. And I then a week after that found out that I was a perfect match for being a stem cell donor for him. And so had that not happened, though, had I still been pregnant, I would not have been able to donate my stem cells to my brother.
Wow.
So that's the very haunting, spooky, surreal thing that I tell myself. I'm like, I hate the whole saying, everything happens for a reason, because what's the reason for that happening to me?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, thank God I was able to save my brother. So Yeah, it's pretty dark. And I think a lot of people get so uncomfortable talking about pregnancy loss, but it's such a real and common thing that happens. And there's this like, it's just like this shroud of secrecy and shame. And I just refuse to sit in it on my own. And so super important to my own healing and for my husband, for me to share that song and share that experience, because I know dozens of women who have gone through it and there is no shame in it. And it should be talked about more. So again, it's the whole continuing theme is being unapologetic and just speaking your truth, right?
A song like that can be so helpful for people. It can normalize things that are, as you say, are kept, so secret or shameful.
Yeah. And I had several people reach out to me after listening to that song. They're like, thank you for that,
right?
That song. And to me, that means a lot, knowing that spoke to other people on that kind of level. Right. So
definitely.
Yeah.
There's a school of thought, Eastern religion, that talks about how souls that don't make it into the world just yet find their way in eventually, in the right time, in the right place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a certain comfort in that, but it's the song actually, River. I don't know if you know the song Amsterdam by Coldplay. Do you know that song?
No, I don't.
Amsterdam is like it's my favorite Coldplay song.
Okay. I'm going to write it down.
It's a super deep cut.
Okay.
On A Rush of Blood to the Head. And it's also a piano ballad through most of it. And then the band kicks in at the end. But I recognized it gave me a similar kind of vibe. Also a very haunting song. But, the story behind River is so powerful. And again, the song, I can imagine you had trouble getting through a take.
Yeah, because I was recording it very shortly after, like a couple months after it all happened, right? So super raw. And, Liam's just like, what do I do? Like, do we keep rolling? Do I hug you? Like, but it was very healing for me. And I wanted, people were like, well, why'd you name him? I'm like, because to me, it's my way of healing. And to me, there's no linear way of doing it. There's no right or wrong way to your healing. And if that's what I need to do to carry forward in my life, then that's what I need to do. And other people want to ignore it. And if that works for them, then that's great. I don't think there's any right or wrong way to grieve. Right. And so I think there's unhealthy ways to grieve, but
of course,
to me, however you approach your grief and try to positively pull yourself through it, I think nothing but good can come from that. And I want to honor his spirit in a way, so.
Music has a unique capacity for that.
Yeah.
A unique capacity for expression.
Yeah. I don't think I'd be able to get through that had I not had some kind of creative outlet. I don't know how people do it.
I think they have their own ways.
Yeah.
But the ability to turn that to alchemize that into a piece of music and express it.
Yeah.
Is really, really powerful. Some people could write it. Some people could, who knows what, but you
paint it. Yeah.
Could paint it, could turn it into architecture. Like people have their own gifts of expression, right?
Yeah. It's so true.
And that's a courageous song. Are you performing that one live?
I will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Liam convinced me to perform it live. So here we go. We'll try.
Oh, it'll be fabulous. But I don't know if you want it to be fabulous is the wrong word. I think maybe powerful is a better word. 'Cause I'm not sure you want that subject matter to be fabulous.
It can be fabulous. But yeah, I like powerful. I like that a lot. Yeah.
Well, I think it is. And I think music that speaks to real experience and to the real stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
There is a power in that is, you don't hear in pop radio. It takes a lot of courage. I mean, I know you've talked about how you wanted this record lyrically to be really honest.
Yeah.
As opposed to having maybe hidden yourself a bit in your lyrics in the past. This is what we're talking about, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. yeah, I definitely way more not intentional, because it was all intentional. And I don't want to discredit any of the work that I did with balconies, because I loved what I did with balconies. I just feel now it's, just raw is the only way that I could describe it. Is I don't want everything to be so subjective all the time. It's okay to be literal sometimes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
To what extent was that just playing the game before? Or is it just you've reached a point of maturity where you're comfortable doing that?
Maybe both. Yeah.
Both.
I don't know. I think it comes with age and understanding yourself a little bit better, and just not shying away from, I think therapy helps. Therapy helps you get all the icky stuff out, right? And it gets easier to talk about those things. And then you realize, like, hey, everyone goes through growing pains. Everyone goes through some kind of adversity in some way. And why are we not talking about it more?
Right. And you can lead that conversation in a song.
Yeah.
You can spark that conversation in a song, You can do it in a kind of a subtle way.
Yeah.
And then I'm jumping ahead, but Soothe Me is another one. Another haunting one of these ballads.
Yeah, that's a pandemic song. I wrote that during the first lockdown, and my family was driving me crazy, and I was feeling just like so stifled. I think we all were, we were all feeling kind of nutty after a while, and just feeling so out of touch and lonely. And I hadn't written a song in a while, and so I was being hard on myself as well. And just trying to find some normalcy was hard for a lot of people. And you're talking on FaceTime, and you're just feeling so so disconnected from everyone and the world, right? And it was such trauma, I think, that people went through during the pandemic. And this is not a pandemic album. I think that's really important for me to establish, because I know a lot of people are doing that now, but this was a pandemic song. But I also think people can pull their own meaning from it without them knowing it's a pandemic song. To me, it can just touch on any kind of mental health issues or feeling of inadequacy or loneliness or just general disconnected ickiness.
Because that's something that everybody else feels too, right? Exactly.
So Soothe Me is like just you trying to find any which way to pull yourself out of the muck.
This is the other thing you can do as a songwriter that not everybody can do. It's because you have this outlet for the things that you feel. Other people don't necessarily have that outlet, but they can use your outlet. A song, it can be catharsis for people who didn't write it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Love that.
And that's what makes great songs work, is that they are an expression for people who can't maybe express themselves in that way. So you're everybody's therapist.
I charge by the hour.
As you should. As you should. You're a musician. You deserve to get paid. We don't have time to talk about everything, but are there other songs you want to bring up here and tell us about?
I would love to talk about Bright Eyes.
Please do. Which is a waltz.
It is a waltz. I love that song. I'm really proud of that song. I think it's my favorite song on the album, only because it's so sweet and hopeful. And to me, that's one of the really important themes that I really wanted to translate through this album, is that life is hard. It's icky sometimes, and it's filled with stuff that we don't want to talk about, that we don't want to face, but it's also really beautiful and amazing. And I just feel like it's so important, yes, to acknowledge the hard stuff, but also still allow yourself to see the beauty, and that the two can coexist.
Right. Beauty in the chaos.
Yeah. And to me, Bright Eyes sums that all up. To me, because it feels like a little bit more of like a gospel song. It's like my therapeutic weird way of singing to like the gods, right? I'm not a religious person, but I consider myself a very spiritual person.
Sure.
So that's my way of singing my gospel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How heavy was that?
Yeah. And so to me, it's, beauty within the chaos. And I just feel like Bright Eyes just ties it up with a bow so beautifully.
Lovely. Lovely. I love that. And it's so important. It's so important to maintain a sense of hope.
Yeah.
It's very, very easy to have that beaten out of you, especially some of the stuff that you've gone through. You've gone through the heavy stuff.
Yeah, but I feel like I'm not better for it, but I just feel like I'm stronger for it, and it makes me appreciate what I have so much more. I mean, had you talked to me maybe 6 months to a year or 2 years ago, my answer would have been very different. And I think what helps a lot is having good people in your corner and being able to share what you're going through with those people, and also having creative outlets. Like, to me, that saves me every time. And I'm so grateful that I have this medium to do that with. So yeah, I just feel like, yes, I've gone through shit and back again, and life is tough sometimes, but you get through it, and grief doesn't ever really go away, but you just get better at managing it, and you kind of grow around it. Right.
And, if you're you can use this gift to make it easier for other people too.
Yeah. Yeah. Because we all go through stuff.
That is a precious thing. Don't forget that. So you're going to do a big release show.
Yeah.
November 26th at where?
So I'm playing at the Rainbow Bistro. It's in the Market in Ottawa. Very special little blues bar. It's a really cute spot, nice and intimate. And I wanted it that way because to me, that album is all about intimacy and being vulnerable, right? So, I don't know where things will take me next as far as performing and whatnot, but I'm open to it all. That's where I'm at. Yeah.
And you will have the full band playing with you.
Yes.
Do you want to tell us about that band?
Yeah. So Liam's joining me.
Oh, I was going to ask. That's great.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think he is too. I think he misses playing together. I definitely do.
I bet.
I love performing with Liam, and then Mike, who played drums with us in the balconies for like the last 3 or 4 years. The band was
fabulous.
Just great. And then my good friend Dante and my friend Luke, they're going to be joining us as well. So
terrific.
Yeah, it's like a nice little family. It's all really good friends, and I'm just really looking forward to performing these songs with them. I think it's going to be great.
When's the last time you played live?
With the full band? Oh my gosh, 3, 4, maybe 5 years ago.
Really?
And then I did a bunch of solo shows. I was doing a residency in Ottawa at this cute little oyster bar called the Elmdale Tavern. And that's kind of what set me on this new trajectory, this new path of getting back into music. But I was doing essentially blues renditions of pop songs for my residency. And I loved it. It was a lot of fun. Like I do like a blues version of like Britney Spears' Toxic or something like that. And just putting my own flavor to it. But then I started incorporating some of the new songs that I was writing and sharing those, and just kind of getting my bearings back a little bit and getting my confidence back in performing again. So I'm really grateful for that little moment. I did it for about a year, doing those little residencies once a month in the middle of the week. And it was great.
Is there like a switch that flips for you? Because we've talked about how terrifying you are on stage, and it's like, is there something that flips?
I think so. I think a lot of people have this like misconception that that's who I am, and I think you and I have talked about this before.
We have, yeah.
Because I am a very sensitive soul, and I don't think I am loud and obnoxious and in your face in real life. But there is a part of me who is that like ruthless, like relentless, like intense person. And I got to let her out sometimes. So to me, that onstage persona is exactly that. That's my like my free happy space to just let loose and not care about what people think.
It is, well, what people think is wow. In my experience, people think, wow.
Well, if they think it's too intense, that's what I mean. I don't care about it. I'm like, I love getting in their faces because it's like that it's exciting, you know? It's I want that like firecracker kind of energy.
Oh, yeah, you've got that absolutely for sure. Yeah, it's really fun to watch. Well, I'm desperately hoping that you bring the show round to the rest of the province and beyond, because I would like to see it. So I hope you get a chance to do that.
Yeah, I think so. I'm playing with the idea right now. I won't disclose anything specific just yet, but yeah, I'm flirting with the idea. We'll just leave it at that.
Well, you'll make it happen if you choose to. Well, you will if you choose to. And I hope you do, and I hope I can help in some way.
Thanks.
We're getting up on time here. I need to let you go,
Yeah.
Jacquie.
Oh my gosh. Wow. We've blasted through this. I love it.
I know it happens. I like it when it's always a good episode when you realize, oh, wait a minute, it's been like an hour.
It's been over an hour.
That's always a good sign. So I am just delighted that you're back. I'm very impressed with the record, and I'm thrilled that you have come back to visit the show again.
Thank you.
Any last parting words for my audience and music lovers everywhere?
It was so nice chatting with you. It's always a pleasure. And I hope that the thing that everyone takes away from this album, if they choose to listen to it, is just that having hope will always be your saving grace.
That's profound. We're going to leave it on that. I want you to stay on the line, but for now, please say goodbye, Jacquie Neville.
Goodbye, Jacquie Neville.
Cheers.
Cheers. I realized I totally forgot my headphones. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Don't sweat it. If the audio's weird, I'll just make a note of it in the introduction. And I will 100% blame it on you.
That's fine. You can blame it.
Or the Magic Man.
The mysterious Magic Man.
The Magic Man. I'm very suspicious.